Thank you for joining us today. My name is Evelyn Waidera-Mula, and I am a psychologist. I'm passionate about helping people who are going through various life struggles like marital issues or people who are looking for purpose in life. I also give workshops to the topics of meaning in life and for people who want to gain more self-confidence. Today, joining me is Maryann. Maryann is a psychotherapist and is currently training to become a hypnotherapist. She's passionate about helping people deal with trauma and to redefine their lives after dealing with the trauma. And me and her, I'm so glad that we actually were able to meet up today and to chat with each other, because we wanted to share with you on the topic of purpose in life or calling. What is my purpose in life? So you might be asking yourself this question as you clicked on this video. How does one find that out? How do you find out your own purpose in life? What are the struggles that one encounters when they pursue purpose? Or what are the things that hold us back to pursue our own purpose in life? So Maryann, you actually didn't maybe straight away find out what your purpose in life is. You had a job, and that applies to me as well, where I ended up quitting, but you also ended up quitting, and it was a well-paying job to pursue your purpose in life. Mm-hmm. How did you realize that the job that you are in was not in alignment with your purpose in life?
Well, thank you, Eva. I didn't know that's what it was. I think I was just in a place where I was not satisfied, or I was conflicted, I think. And I think for me, how I found out is I would go on Monday for a meeting, and then I would see, we had this culture at work where everybody says something, and then there'll always be someone saying all these big things they're doing. And I'm like, damn, I'm not doing anything like that. I felt like I'm just pushing papers, and that made me scared or insecure, or I freaked out. And then I remembered that when I got that job, I had said I'm going to do it for this amount of time. And then I never did it. Then I woke up one day and I had this panic attack. Not financial, just, I would call it, I had an anxiety attack about life. And I knew that if I wake up 5 years later in this job, I will hate myself. I'll be a cliche. I'll be a typical, I don't know what to call it, like just another person in the data system, but not really anyone outstanding or doing anything important here. How I would define it. I didn't know it then, but I just felt something is wrong. I'm not in the right place. And I started panicking. And what that did for me is it sent me into a spiral where I started doing online studies. I started picking things just to feel good about myself. But I didn't focus. So I wasted a lot of time, a lot of money, because I did not sit down and say, okay, I don't like this job. I'm going to quit and do what I want. No, it took too long for me. Yeah.
So financially, you said you were actually okay. You were earning good money. Is that right? Yeah. But then there was this discontentment that you had, and it would show itself in anxiety bouts, maybe, like you said, or going online and looking for courses and stuff to sort of like.
I did online courses. I remember I did a course on organization psychology, because I thought like, okay, I'm in this job. I love being a psychologist. How can I combine my job and be a psychologist? And I started doing online courses on that. And it was interesting, but it was never going to get me a job promotion. It was never going to get me a job change. I just wasn't doing the right thing. But why I say it was not a financial anxiety is because before I got that job, I was in the financial anxiety stage where God give me any job. But then I was in this job, I had a pension, I had insurance, and for Nairobi standard, that is a pretty good place to be at my age, It's those jobs I could just be there for the rest of my life, but when you listen to others and the amount of, let's say, impact they were making did not reflect the amount of impact I was doing.
Yeah, and it's not, I think, when I was in my job, I also had two very well-paying jobs, and it's not because I couldn't say what I'm doing. I could actually say what I'm doing, and maybe even the impact that I was having. But still, nonetheless, I felt empty inside. And I felt that job is meaningless. Although that job wasn't meaningless in that sense. It was actually a job that had an impact. And I'm sure even in where you worked, you probably helped. You had an impact in one way or the other. But I think, and I believe this, when we are not working according to our purpose or in alignment with our purpose, then the job, even if it's impactful and it's a meaningful job, it feels meaningless. And it feels, and I think that is always one thing that can always show someone, maybe I'm in the wrong place. If you feel like, yeah, this is meaningless what I'm doing. I remember I used to drive to work in one particular job, and I would think to myself, why am I wasting my time? I would always feel like I'm wasting, going there is a waste of time. I'm wasting my time. And actually, it was important. It was a very important job. It was about combating extremism. So it's actually a very, very important job. But I still felt like I'm wasting my time going to that place. And it's not because we're not doing anything meaningful. It's, for me, it wasn't in alignment with my own purpose. And the other thing is that I always felt empty and drained at the end of the day. I would come home and I would just feel, for me, I would come home and I would feel I'm just drained, because I was always doing stuff outside my talents and my interests, areas of interests. So I would have to work so hard to actually, and I was good at it. It's not that I wasn't good at it. And that's always the danger. You can be good at something that you're not, that is not in alignment with your purpose. But it was very draining, and it's a different kind of draining as compared when I'm living out my own purpose. I also have days where I have a lot to do and stuff, but I feel elevated during the course of the day as I'm doing my work. So there's general feeling of being drained. But what you also said, you said that you started going on the internet and started looking for courses and stuff. I used to do that, but I used to look for jobs. I would just look for jobs. I was just, every time at home when I had that like low moment, I would just go on the internet and I'll say, okay, I'll start looking. So I would start looking for jobs. And then I would say, oh yeah, what kind of job is that? What do they do there? But that just points out to the dissatisfaction that I sensed at the time. I was so dissatisfied. And I was sort of like wishing and hoping I could just, run away from the situation. And that was one way of running away from the situation. And maybe you, who's watching this now, can identify with these things, that you feel, in the evening, I'm looking for courses, just random stuff to sort of like make me feel better, or make me feel hopeful or whatever. And it could be a sign.
And I like that you mentioned that you are good at your job, because there's also a thin line between people who are looking to do a change because they're not good at what they do and they refuse to accept that. So we have to really make sure that you're good at what you do and it doesn't satisfy you. That's why you want to change, but not because you're really bad at your job. You struggle at it. People tell you that, and that dissatisfies you. So for me, I felt people thought I was good at my job, but I didn't feel like I was good at my job.
Yeah, and that's an important thing, Maryanne, because on the one hand, you can be good at it. So I was good at it. I knew I was good at it, but I didn't feel satisfied. I had the skills that were necessary for that job, but it wasn't a topic that I was interested in. So you see, so it was always this extra hard work to actually keep up. I had colleagues who are one of my colleagues was really good. She was passionate about it, and you could see that passion. And she had a different, what do you call it? Strength, or different. You could see it was just different. It was a difference between me and her. I would work hard, but I would always I would just do what is needed. She would do much more,
Even much more.
So the question, the second question I would like to ask, would you say that that job you are in enabled you to discover your purpose in life? Did you know it beforehand? Did you actually know what your calling is? Or is it like you said, through that job, you started discovering, okay, money is not everything?
I was a therapist before I did my job. So what happened is I wasn't getting paid as a therapist in Kenya. That's to be honest. Nobody's paying you for that. So I got an opportunity to work in an embassy. So that was amazing. The payment was good. I needed that because of bills.
Okay.
I needed to, first of all, pay my bills. I don't believe you can find your purpose when you have bills on your table. When people it's not easy. You have to get rid of that part. First of all, have the rent covered, have the food covered, you cannot look for your purpose in an empty stomach. So I took this job it wasn't so far from being a therapist, but it was also a people's job, so I was still working with people, but I wasn't a therapist. I was not doing addiction, anything. So I took that job, and that's why I had said that after this amount of years, I will go up and open my own clinic. I'll go up and start my own consultancy as a therapist. That was the dream. And I took this job, and it was too nice. It was too comfortable. It was too good that I slept. I forgot my dream. So the money part is good. We need money. You need the money. You need to pay bills. But I should have used that time that I was financially comfortable, that I was financially free to chase my dream. But I didn't. So when my dream caught up with me, I had to do an emergency exit, and that's the problem. That is, for me, what I would say was my problem. I had 5 years to open my own consultancy, but I didn't. I just enjoyed the money, the good job, the good atmosphere, and everything. Yeah. So being at that job helped me to really think about what I want and what I don't want, because I had what I thought I wanted, a comfortable, secure job. Then it showed me that this is not it.
For me, I would also say that being in the different job, and I've been really in different jobs, at least you were once like, you seem to have known sort of like, this is what I want to be, and then worked there where you didn't get paid, and then you ended up working somewhere else where you just worked for the money, and then discovered, no, that's not what I wanted. For me, it was a much more complicated journey. I've been in different jobs, and yes, I've had jobs where it was very well paid, and I've discovered, no, that is not it. I have the money, I have the security, but I still feel empty. So this is not it. And I've had jobs which are okay paying, not so well paying, but I've also discovered, okay, this is not. So I had one job where I would work with teenagers, and I loved that job because it was very relational. So just building relationships with them and stuff. But I was just someone like who was helping out. I wasn't like one of the main staffs who would write reports and stuff. And I would always feel very under challenged. I was like, I have so much to offer, and I can't just be having this relation. I need to do more, and I can offer more. But there was no chance for me to do that, because the job that I was in didn't offer that. And I couldn't imagine myself becoming like the people who would do the reports and stuff. I didn't want that either, because I was like, no, but that's not exactly what I wanted. And for me, so being in the different jobs has helped me to define myself, because I don't know how you grew up, but how I grew up is that my parents are loving and they're good parents. But it was not, we didn't really have room for self-development or for self-expression or self-exploration. You just, as a person, you didn't sort of get empowered, like, this is you, this is what you're good at, this is, and so there was this lack of knowledge whatsoever about who I am. And I remember, so I really had a vague idea about that. And when my looking for jobs was more about maybe impressing people, like I want this title or whatever, and until I realized that, well, I had prestigious jobs and that didn't fulfill me. And so really having to dig deep, like, what is it then that will fulfill me? What is it that, what is my purpose, And it has been a long journey of looking back and checking, like, what are things that I've been good at throughout my life and stuff. But definitely, and we'll get into that in a bit, but definitely my being in the different jobs, sometimes I would feel like, I wasted time, I've wasted so much time. And I have those moments where I feel I've wasted so much time in the different jobs, but no, they were important for me to actually learn, like, who I am and what I'm passionate about. So what are the things that hold us back from pursuing our life purpose or purpose in life? Like you, in your case, when you were working in this very well-paying job, you didn't just wake up and quit. What are the wrong reasons that held you back from quitting initially and pursuing your life's purpose? What are the things that held you back?
First, I would say that I felt it's fear, and this connects to what I do as a trauma therapist, because I know fear is such a big deep-rooted thing. It's not just the way we speak it. So I had fear. I was a fearful person from my childhood, so I had this fear of doing something out of the norm, and number two, I had this job that people prayed for. People prayed for me to get this job. So I was responsible for other people's feelings. I was responsible for other people, I know my aunt will be like, oh, this is my niece, she works at the embassy, like that. That's for her was like a cool thing to do. So I was going to rob her that, okay, in a funny sense, but the truth is you feel guilty. You feel fear. I felt guilty because I felt privileged to have such a job, and then how was I going to explain to people why I'm leaving this job? Even when myself, I was not convinced that it was the right thing to do. So fear, and then also I wasn't conforming to society, and that is the expectation of society. People pretend that they're not living in a society, but you're living in a society. Once you acknowledge that, then you're able to pull yourself out. So that was I was stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I was stuck in fear and guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you felt guilty towards your people if you sort of like you are letting them down if you do this and stuff. And I think what you said is actually very important. And I think we underestimate how we are a product of our society and our community and the people who we are attached to. And I think that's not bad. In a sense, it's not bad. We have to sort of fit in. It's okay to conform in some respects. We have to all conform. Otherwise, if we didn't conform, it would be a very chaotic world. But then to what extent am I conforming? To the extent that I'm dissatisfied, that I get sick, that I get depression because I am unhappy, I am discontent, but I'm doing something to please people. It's just people pleasing, and that is always a balance that we have to be able, to get for ourselves, because nobody will do it for us. For me, I remember when I was almost quitting my job. So I had like a 2-year period where I was quitting my job. I was quitting my job for like 2 years. And what would hold me back was security. Like I had constant money coming in every month. It was good money. There was comfort attached to that. I don't have to really, I can just go to work and things will, go on like the way they do. And you mentioned that as well. You had a really good job. You enjoyed it. I had, but then there's also, for me, also losing prestige. There is some sense of prestige that came with my job, like you said with your auntie, who would say,
Yes.
this is why, and I would also have those introductions where people say, yeah, she does this and stuff, and so that would be gone. But also fear of failure. I was very afraid of failing, and like, it looked for me, because I'm also self-employed. It all because I live in Germany, and I didn't grow up here, so I didn't quite understand the system. And I would look at it, I'm like, how do you, it's just complicated. It was just a big mountain. And until I realized, there's no definite answers, there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
I have to just take that leap of faith and go step by step. Yes, inform myself, be well informed, but you can never know everything, you never ever know everything. I just have to go step by step. But fear really held me back for a long time. And also fear for my pension. I would think to myself, well, if I go get self-employed, then maybe I lose my pension, or I don't. If you're employed here in Germany, you automatically, you're paying into your pension and stuff. And there would be a gap there for me. And so those were the things that were holding me back. For me, it was fear, security, comfort, losing prestige, but also just thinking to myself, this is just way too big. I don't know how I will handle this. So, but it's interesting that you had other things like guilt and, but it's somehow similar. But fear is always something that holds us back, I think. It's not a bad feeling. It's important. I think fear warns us of something that could happen, but it's important to analyze. Is it really...
The fear keeps you away from those. Maybe my fear kept me away from the days I didn't afford my rent, and the fear is telling me, do you really want to go back to that time? I'm like, no, okay, let me just stay. Keep quiet, just stay, be grateful. Be grateful, but also there's a faith part, because if I had faith, I would say, okay, if God was so faithful to give me this job, I'm sure, and he can see how dissatisfied I am, I'm sure there are bigger things. So, for me, as much as sometimes I'm not preaching, but I do remember my favorite verse was that he has plans for me, plans for good and not for evil, to give me a hope and a future, And I was like, this is not it. I have a dream. I have, that this is not it. So I kept saying that, and that helps you to start making plans. And it's good to be in this place because it prepares you for what's coming next.
It's almost like a signal for yourself, well, plan. You need to think through this, don't just make any quick decisions. But you, at some point, you actually then gathered the courage and decided to embark on a new journey. First of all, tell us what the journey is, what you pursued on, or because you quit your job, and you're gonna explain in a bit, like you took on this new adventure. And what are the struggles? Has it been easy? Are there struggles that you faced? Should someone who's expecting to follow their life's purpose expect struggles, would you say?
Quitting my job was very hard. Just even me sitting down telling my parents that I'm going to quit my job and go abroad to study. I had to call a meeting, and I was going around the bush, and my mom is those people of like, what is it? Tell us, like, spill the beans, stop going around the bush. So there was that part, and it was really, really hard. And I would tell people, if you don't have a friend, if you don't have somebody who says, whatever it is, if I'm going to walk the path with you, then you're embarking on a very dangerous journey. If you don't have believers in your circle, then you're doomed. You have somebody who says, it's dangerous, but you need to do it. We see your passion and your potential. What advice I would give somebody in that situation is, don't quit your job yet until you have plans or tested, or because we are telling people to follow their purpose, Eva, but they have to pay bills at the end of the day. So don't do it until you've done testing. You want to quit your job and open a coffee shop, well and good. Talk to at least 10 coffee shop owners. Let them tell you the truth, that they didn't wake up, quit their job and bought a shop. No, they didn't do that. It's not true. There's a process, and you need to talk to somebody who's done it.
What you're saying is obviously true, that that it's not something you just don't wake up and quit. You like you said, you first of all, it's a very courageous thing to quit or to actually embark on a journey where you're not sure how things are going to end up. But like you said, preparation is key. You have to be prepared. You have to have people in your corner who are your believers, like you said. I also had believers. I remember I would talk to a friend of mine and I would be like, yeah, I'm now thinking of starting this job. I'm thinking of applying for this job. And she'd be like, but that's not what you want. That's not, you always said you want to be self-employed. So what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, true, you know? And she would sort of like, and I would be angry at her. She just doesn't listen to me. She's discouraging me. But then when I have my quiet moment, I'll be like, yeah, no, you know, she's talking the truth. That is what I wanted. I want to actually be self-employed. I want to help work in my own setting and help people discover what meaning in life is, self-worth and stuff like that.
Those are the struggles because one, you don't have an income and you're used to have an income. You know, for the last 5 years in my life, I didn't have to budget for food. I just walked in the supermarket and figured what I want to buy. Now I'm stuck in the most expensive country, Norway. I can't afford things, so I have to cut down. You know, I had to go back to basic of eating bread, potatoes, and chicken. What was the cheapest stuff I could eat? And then it hit you that I gave up the freedom to choose to buy for this. So whatever it is has to work. And also, it's a cold country. People are not in the street talking to you, harassing you, talking to you. So you miss, at some point, I felt like wearing a t-shirt saying, talk to me, touch me, you know, bump into me, you know. So there is that is a struggle. And also, don't forget that you have this guilt that you left a good paying job to go study. So you don't have friends you can complain to because you're afraid they'll tell you, but you left a good job. What are you complaining about? So you sort of feel alone in this situation. You feel lonely. You feel like you want to question yourself. Like I felt like maybe I made a mistake, and that's what everybody's thinking about. So every time I thought about, let me call Eva, I'll be like, I'm sure she thinks I made a mistake. And if I call her and tell her how I'm struggling, she'll just reaffirm her thoughts. Like, yeah. You really messed up this time. I didn't want that.
Yeah, so there's struggles, like you said, there's this self-doubt, you know, like
it comes
doubting, oh, was this the right decision that I made? You know, have I and I think that is normal. If you just normalize that, I had that and I have that in moments where things get difficult. I'm like, is this really what, you know, is this the right path? But the good thing about that, they don't last so long, and they don't have the intensity like when I was in my job, you know. I remember, should I go back to that? And I'm like, no way. I'm happy. It's okay. It's okay. I'll carry on, you know. And so there's this self-doubt. For me, what I struggled with, and you've mentioned that as well, was loneliness. I also experienced loneliness, or I experienced it as well, just because when I was at work, you know, you had colleagues, you have everything. And now it's just, I'm working alone. Yes, I have courses and stuff. I talk to people and stuff, but it's a different kind of working, you know, because you're generally alone. But like for you, like you said, you went to a completely different country. You're like, okay, this is what I need to, and that just left you sometimes in a lonely place.
I don't think if I had a scholarship and I had taken a work break, I don't think I would have felt the loneliness. So it's not the loneliness that I was alone in a country. It was, I was lonely in my decision, the decision I made. So I felt lonely in my decision, and that is so scary, because if I had won a scholarship to go abroad and study neuroscience, I would have followers on my Facebook page. You know, people are like, we are so proud of you. Go make us proud. You know, so but I had quit a job that was secure, that was good, to go and let's say, struggle abroad, and that made me feel so lonely. I needed someone to say, I think you made the right decision, but there was no one. You don't get that. Even your friends love you and they support you, but they will not give you that. This is it. I think you're doing the right thing. You're so brave. I just wanted someone who can say that and just feel like I'm not alone.
Oh, thanks that you've said that, because that is so true. I'm getting goosebumps, because you've said something so important. And I think that, that is what sometimes, because especially when you're going through difficult phases, going to people, they will just say to you, why did you leave your job? Like, what is it? So you're lonely in the sense of you are alone in that decision. You sort of have to stand for yourself, you have to grow up, become an adult all of a sudden for yourself, because you don't have people patting your back and saying, this is the best choice you ever made, you manage this. And I think you just have to believe in yourself. And even maybe also the spiritual aspect of it, just trust that God is with you in this situation and he's going to carry you through it, and you are on the right, so long as you're hearing from him and he's saying you are still on the right path, it's okay. And I think that is the only thing that maybe it has helped me to carry on. And my husband, I have a very supportive husband. My husband is so supportive. He says, do this, he'll get me the stuff that I need and stuff. But he doesn't believe in my decision. He doesn't believe it. That's a difference, It's like, he doesn't quite believe in it. And every moment of like doubt, he'll be like, just look for a job, there's this job. And he will just propose that to me all the time, or say to me, but I don't think, and I'm not angry at him, and I'm not mad at him because he doesn't believe in it, because why should he? He's been employed all his life. He doesn't know, he comes from such a family. He doesn't understand my decision. And I think that's one of the biggest struggle that faces people who, faces people who decide to go their own life's journey, that you will not always have people, a fan squad behind you,
and you get angry. You start getting angry at people because you think people owe you. I felt angry at my parents, at my family members, because I wanted them to come and rescue me from this loneliness, but maybe they don't even really know what you're up to. So I just want to mention that you will go through this. You just be aware of it. The good point is keep going.
And what would you say then to someone who, you've said a bit about it, but someone, for example, there's people who maybe are in high school or in university, or someone who's in a job, stuck in a job, and they're like, okay, how do I know where I am at the moment is not what I want to do forever, in 5 years, in 10 years, or whatever. I'm discontent, I'm not happy. Or I don't even know who I am. How does someone find out what their passion is, or what their calling is, or what their purpose in life is? You said something about working for free. What is it that I would do even for no money, because I love it and I am passionate about it? Is there something else that you could add to it? So someone who's trying to discover what their passion is, what is it that they
I feel like many speakers make other people feel bad when they say, oh, you have to know what you're passionate about. But it's not true. Many people really just say, I have so many passions, and they're being honest. They really don't know. It's not fair to say that you should know what you're good at, we don't even know what that means. For me, I knew it was people. So maybe I wanted to be a teacher at some point. I wanted to be a preacher at some point. I had all this because I knew
Maryanne, I think you could have been a good preacher.
I also thought about it at some point. So I knew it was people, but I didn't know, and I also had people who say, you can do this, you can do this. So what I would say about that is you have to try. You have to try many things. I worked in prison for 1 year. I loved it. I just loved it. One of my most memorable time is me working in the prison. I worked in rehabs. I loved it. So there's something about me and people that I enjoyed, And then I worked in a taxi company.
What did you do in prison?
I was working as a therapist.
Okay,
At committee, So I
taxi driver, as taxi company?
I worked in a taxi company as a call girl, like a call center.
Yeah.
I hated it. I hated it because for me, what I did, I told people, you do my job, let me go online, find all of us new jobs. So we would do these things where they do my job and I'm online looking for jobs for everyone. I'm like, oh, if you want to work as a banker, there's a job at Equity Bank, apply for it. So that's how I spent my time working in a call center. I hated the job. So I know things that I did that I didn't enjoy. So when I'm alone, I think maybe I don't know what my purpose is. Maybe I don't know what my calling is, but I do love doing this one thing, So what I would say, Eva, is you don't know what your purpose is. You decide what your purpose is. Because you decided what your purpose is when you quit your job. You didn't get a call. You didn't get a letter from God. You didn't get a prophecy. You decided, I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to encourage people. I want to empower people. I want to help people find their purpose. You discovered that yourself. So you decided what your purpose is. And this is the part where I tell people you have to take back the power, because finding out your purpose is not something that comes from, you decide today. And how you decide is by trying and failing until you narrow it down.
Yeah, and I've got on my notes, I've written it down here. Nobody will come and tell you this is your purpose, like exactly the way you said it. Nobody will come and tell you that. It's not something that is handed to you, in one sense or the other. Though people might speak stuff into you. They might say, whoa, I noticed this in you. I noticed that in you. Like your work colleague who told you, why are you still here? You need to quit,
Exactly, yes.
So people might come say to you, they wouldn't say this is your purpose, but they might say, whoa, you're really good at listening. You're really good at asking questions. You're really good. So for example, I always get that from people, especially people who are in a dark place, who feel discouraged, who are in a hopeless situation, or feel that I just ask questions, and I ask the correct, I just do it automatically, instinctively. It's just something that is inborn. I will ask the questions that they need to be asked, and somehow that will lead them to a better place, and I, for example, 3 weeks ago, I met up with this lady, and she told me, I said to her, whoa, that we really had a good conversation. It wasn't a coaching situation or a counseling situation. It was just in a private situation, like a friend, someone who I've newly met. And she said at the end of it, you're a good listener, and you ask the right questions, and I've heard that people say that to me, or they say, whoa, I can trust you with my burdens. I can trust you. You're very trustworthy. So it's something that people kept saying to me, and I didn't know. I remember at the beginning, like, of my career, trying to become trying to get a job or trying to get a career, I wanted to become a pilot. So that is just how far off it is from who I am, actually. But I wanted to, I was like, that is the coolest thing to do and stuff. And I'm so glad that didn't work out. I'm so happy it didn't work out. But like you said, trying different things, and seeing, like, noticing, where do I feel elevated? Where am I in my element? Where am I having an impact? Where do I feel whole? I come to life when I do this, and you only discover this through trial and error, and self observation as well, because you can try many things and you're not observing and reflecting. Reflect and observe yourself. And some of the questions that I like giving people is like, in what moments do I come alive? Do I feel free? Do I feel, like being myself? And just write those down. It could be so different, so many different things, but just write those down. But also, like you said, with the taxi driver job or taxi call center job, that you felt, oh, I really hate this. So the other question is to ask yourself, in what moments do I feel empty, drained, tired, because they also are speaking to you. They're telling you something about yourself. And use that as for elimination. They will help you to eliminate stuff that doesn't fit into you. But also what I found to be useful, even for me, is when I do that, is that I started finding out, okay, so these are the talents that I have. These are the things that I do with ease, they just come naturally. But also these are the interests that I have. For example, I'm very interested in psychological themes or also faith and spirituality themes. So these are the things that I read about. I love reading about this, researching about that, and you do that with trauma. So you just do it for free, I learn a course here, whatever about trauma. I want to find out more about it. I want to be really good at that topic. I want to understand it to the core. So for example, my son, he's been drawing. He started drawing like a few months ago, well, almost a year now. And he's gotten really good at it. He's so good. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And nobody has taught him. He just looks on the internet and draws this stuff. And what interests him, he sort of like he watches videos, YouTube videos about pens and which pens you should use and what type of, you're like, are you serious that you're actually watching that, But for him, it's very interesting. He wants to explore that. And I think that is something that one should think for themselves. What is it that what topics interest me? What is something that I do for free or in my free time to just, what do I read about? What topics do I always read about or watch on YouTube?
Yeah.
And then is the other thing is to find out what values are important for me. So for you, it's something to do with fear. I don't want people to have fear. So you're passionate about that, helping people to sort of overcome their fear. I am passionate about helping people. So that's one value that is important for me. Discover their spirituality, because I think God, the aspect of God, is so important in life. And in psychology, sometimes it gets left out, or there's not so much emphasis on it. But we are holistic beings, so we have a soul as well, which can't be ignored, like especially if you're going through hard stuff or if you're looking for your calling and stuff. And so like I said, God didn't tell me this is what I want you to do, but God does reassure me, like, yes, you're on the right path. And that is important for me. And I want other people to have that. And so this is the question that one could also ask themselves: what values are important for me? What are the things, what are principles that have to be, you sort of want to share with people, or that have to be part of your work, that we have a set of these, it's not just one thing, it's a set of things that of values that we have that are important for us. And I think calling always has to do with these three things: talent, so what comes easy for us, interests, and also values. As we come to an end, I have one last question for you. Do you think one can discover their calling or purpose in life when they are not connected to God? What's your take on that?
Think about God coming from where we come from. For example, I came from a country or place where people are super religious, and still struggled with their purpose,
I like that comparison that you've made. Like we come from countries. Well, we come from Kenya. We're both Kenyans, where faith is a big deal, and that doesn't mean necessarily that everyone there is following their life purpose. And here, on the contrary, here in Germany, people are not necessarily believers, but they want and desire, they are focused on, maybe not just Germany, Europe in general, is a life purpose is something that maybe many pursue. And I think there's many levels to this. I think wealth gives you the comfort or the comfortability to actually pursue this,
Safety,
maybe people
bills.
they have bills to pay, so they don't have time to think about such things. But I personally think it is possible to actually find your life's purpose or calling without being connected to God. I think to claim that that's not possible would be ridiculous. I think there's many people in the world who are atheists who have achieved great things, where you would say, okay, this person truly is in their element, but what I would argue though is that I think if you're not connected to God, I would call it God, or this higher being, there's always the danger that it can become self-serving, that it's all about me, and we've seen that people who you could see they're good at what they're doing, they're successful at it, but at the end of the day, it's all about them. You just have a funny feeling about it, that the way they're doing it, so it can become very self-serving. But or that is one extreme. The other extreme is that it can become enslaving. So there's many cases of people who were very successful and stuff, but they completely neglected their own health, their families, their whatever, or they just couldn't stop. They're always working, and they sort of become a slave to their purpose. And I think that is the danger too. And this is why I'm talking about this, because many people think or believe, oh, once I get my life purpose, or once I discover what I'm good at, then my life, and no, not necessarily. Yes, we human beings, and this from psychology, we're like a puzzle, and there's this part for purpose, family, relationships, and there's this puzzle, this complete puzzle, and one of them is spirituality, and it runs through our whole life. And if that puzzle is missing, then, but at the end of the day, that's just not it. It's not the only thing that will fulfill you. We are very complex as human beings, and we have many aspects to us. And finding a balance in everything in life, like with family, work, what you're passionate about, your hobbies and stuff, I think the central part of it is spirituality and having connection to something higher than you, because then your life purpose is not something that is self-serving, and it's not something that enslaves you, but rather it's a service to others. But you have your boundaries, I'm serving others. I have some time to do this, because one day we will all become pensioners. Then you have to let go of that. It's just also parts of your life, but it's temporal, it's not something that lasts forever, so to say. And I think spirituality is that which centers us, that even what we're giving and even what we're doing is for the others, for the benefit of others, for the good of others, and it's not just self-serving. But I think we've actually talked on very many important things, and I think we should just wind it down now. I would say, I think I've got all the questions. I would say to all those who've watched, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to send us the questions, or leave a comment if you found this conversation useful for you, if you found that it helped you or given you insights on the topic of calling or finding your life purpose. Maryanne and I would be very happy to hear your comments. And if you want to find out more about what we do, then check in the description area. You will find my email address and Maryanne's contact details as well. Apart from that, give us a like if you liked the video, or if you found it helpful. That way you support what we're doing, and feel free to subscribe to my channel.